Got it. Now it's recorded. Okay.
Voice too.
Yes, voice too. That's part of the reason I don't record usually. Because I never know what I'm going to say in the middle of a class. And where is the smallest x value? -4 to what? 12. So I may go -4 to, what does it go to, 12? They count by twos, is that right? So I'll go -2, -4. And their counters will go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, extends. Now, where is it? -4, -4. Does that sound right? Yes? Are there other points? Is a straight line up to 0, 4? It's just got to be plugged in. 0 to 0, 4. Where does it go down to? 2. Then it goes up to where? 4, 4. Then what does it do? Down to 8, -4. 8, -4. Then what's it do? Up to 10. And then down to where? Mine may not be drawn to scale. Do you agree mine kind of looks like what's up there? What does it say this is? This shows a graph, piecewise function, -4 to 5. Function f. Does it say this is a graph of f?
Yeah.
So I'm going to write that up here. Y equals f. Now, what does it say? It says g of x equals what? G of x equals, is the integral from 0 to 2? 0 to x, 2 to x, 2 to x of f of t dt. That also is given. Do you agree? Does G have a relative minimum? How do you know if G has a minimum? The derivative has to go from what to what?
How do you know that it's, like, what does piecewise mean?
Piecewise means it's in pieces. These are each individual different line segments. From -4 to 0, it's defined by this line, right? From 0 to 2, it's defined by a different line.
Okay.
2 to 4, it's a different line. 4 to 8, it's another line. Do you agree with this? Do you agree in part A, Ashley, it's talking about a minimum, so I got to look at the derivative. And it's what's a minimum of G, so I need to find G prime. Do you know how to do the derivative of an integral? No? Yes? It just eliminates and becomes f of x. Do you agree? Second fundamental theorem of calculus. If it's a constant to x, you just replace the t with an x and eliminate the integral. Is that a problem? So I need to know where G prime goes from negative to positive to create a minimum. Can anybody tell me where this occurs? Where G prime or f goes negative to positive. I'm sorry? -2. The y values are negative, then the y values become positive. The y values are f of x, which is G prime. So is that the only place it goes negative to positive? So for part A,
Part A is just looking at x equals 10.
I'm sorry?
Part A is just looking at x equals 10.
Part A. Part A, does it have a maximum either at x equals 10? You're absolutely right. What do you think about at x equals 10?
Nothing. It doesn't cross the x-axis.
I don't think it crosses the x-axis, so what are my choices? Neither. So for A, I think I would say x equals 10 is not an extrema.
Even though it has no slope.
It has no, well, I would argue it does have a slope.
It's neither positive nor negative.
Well, it's 0, right? Because that's the y value, and the y value is the slope of g. So it might be, think about x cubed. Does it increase, level to 0, and then keep increasing? It's not a max or a min, but it still has the first derivative 0. So I think it's non-extremist, so I would have to answer, is it NIE or NEI? I always miss this up. It's got to be NEI. That looks better. Neither. Now, where does the minimum occur? The minimum does occur at -2, doesn't it? What does part B say? Does it have an inflection point at x equals 4? How do I go from G prime to G double prime? Right in here, I know that G prime is equal to F. How do I go to G double prime? You take the derivative again. Would G double prime equal F prime?
Yes.
And I need F prime, I need this to change signs. How can I find what F prime is? F prime is what?
Slope of the line.
Good, the slope of the line. Here the slope is, over here the slope is. So there's an inflection point at x equals 0, I think. And at 2, and at 4, and at 8, and at 10, right? G would have inflection points at all of those. But what is this asking? Does it have an inflection point when x is 4? Is that what it's asking? Okay. At 4, what's the slope to the left of 4? Positive. Over here, what's the slope to the right of 4? Does it change from positive to negative when x is 4? So I'm going to answer part B. I'm going to say G has inflection point at x equals 4. Now, what would be your reasoning?
Because it goes from positive to negative.
I would say F prime changes signs. And you're right, it is positive to negative. Anyway, anything on A or B? I need to zoom this out so we can see it better. C, find the absolute minimum value and absolute maximum value. Did they give us anything in the instructions? Do they tell us F? Oh, I know. I'd like everybody's attention up here. If I had to do G of 2, what would that make this integral?
2 to 2.
Would it make it 2 to 2? Harris knows that if the bounds are the same, the integral would equal. So do you agree that G of 2 is 0? Yes? Can you tell me what G of 6 is? Because this area here is what? How long? 2 to 4. 2 to 6 is 4 by 4, 16. Is that area 8? So if I add 8 to 0, would that make this 8? Yes?
Yeah.
How about tell me G of 10? Can anybody tell me what G of 10 would equal? Well, this area is 4 by 4. It's also 8. But why am I going to call it negative?
Because it's negative.
So would G of 10 be what? 0, because you went back, right? You went from 0 to 8, and down 8 would make it a 0, right? Would G of 12 be positive or negative? G of 12 would be negative, wouldn't it? Because you'd have to decrease that amount. What is that amount anyway? 2 is be a negative 4, so what would G of 12 equal? What would G of 12 equal? If you went down, it'd be negative 4, I think. Is that right? Can anybody tell me G of negative 2 now? What's this area? Is it also 8? Can anybody tell me what G of 2 would, negative 2 would equal?
8.
I'm sorry?